to which we are very grateful for them to allowing us to do this today. I'm just going to unmute Scott for a second so that he can have a say a little introduction about that. Oh, this is a little bit confusing. You have to excuse me. This is new to using this kind of medium. We have actually reached our limit on the room now. There's 100 participants in here this morning, so that's amazing. Just bear with me a second because my cursor seems to have disappeared while I unmute Scott, and then we'll crack on. Okay. Let's see if we could do it from that. There we go. This is a bit better. Oh, there's all the technical problems, isn't there? So let's jump onto that.
Hi there, Sam. Sorry,
we go, finally.
But part of this presentation is learning to use new ways of working and everything. So thank you very much for giving me my voice back. Hi, everybody. It's really good to receive you on this webinar today. Can I ask for those that are using their video camera, we don't need that necessarily, and I suppose in essence it may challenge the bandwidth across the piece. So we're going to keep everyone unmuted. We're going to hopefully get your chats and comments in the chat box. We will make sure they're referred back to Sam when he's finished his presentation. The presentation won't take too long, but it's a wealth of information there for you to really get your teeth into. So if you can turn your videos off, and if you can, we're going to keep you unmuted. Can you also please, by the way, it's all lovely to see you all, I'm not, but it's not easy with the bandwidth. So can I also ask you to make sure that if you have any different settings on the chat, that you make sure it's turned on to everyone. So if you, then everyone can see what you're chatting about, and we can get a really good comms going through the chat box. So Helen and I are going to come back to that very shortly. But I wanted to do a really quick introduction to say, I'm the Chief Executive of the IEP. It's really great to see you all here. And welcome to the IEP webinar series, which is Live Learn Lunch. And this is the 9th webinar in the series in partnership with many different IEP partner organisations and members. This week's webinar is entitled Keep Calm and Carry On, which is engagement in uncertain times. And it's brought to you by Sam from JobSkiller, who you can see there. We have an excellent webinar programme coming up for you in the next few weeks, looking at all aspects of subjects and aspects, including coaching, employer engagement, online learning, and other things. And if you enjoyed the previous webinars with the Better Health Generation, and clearly if you enjoy this one, which I'm sure you will, happily, the Better Health Generation will be back in a few weeks with a mini series of webinars around the challenges of returning to work post-COVID or living with COVID. So look out for that in the IEP Learning Network e-bulletin. As I said, this alongside all the other webinar series will be on the IEP YouTube channel this afternoon. Please stay well, stay safe, and get chatting on the chat link on the box. Please remember that this and the webinars are on the YouTube channel, and it's really important that you interact with us through the chat so we know what questions you've got and what you want to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Scott. Okie dokie. So this webinar is entitled Engagement in Uncertain Times. There's a couple of things that we want to have a look at today. Firstly, I just want to have say a massive thank you to the IEP for allowing us to do this with them today. We have been members of the IEP since 2017 when we first started. That's one of our founders, Chris Hughes, there signing up with Scott in a little cafe in Manchester. Firstly, I want to go through some introductions to myself and to JobSkiller as an organisation, then have a look at the uncertain times that we're facing, and then what we have learned as an organisation and how we've adapted for that. And then I just want to have a brief look at employer engagement, as that seems to be a hot topic at the moment. Firstly, let me introduce myself. My name is Sam Siswick. I started in the welfare to work industry in 2009. I have worked in many different roles, from advisory roles to centre management roles, worked a little bit in apprenticeships, in delivery, in training delivery, and many other things across the board over the last 10 years. And for the last 4 years, I've been with JobSkiller, as we have been building a fledgling business based surrounding technology in the welfare to work industry. JobSkiller is an online platform that allows users to search and book for funded training across the country. We have helped over 16,000 people so far gain training that they need and they want in the specific areas that they're in. We started because we saw that there was a discrepancy with the way that people could search for the training that they needed, and the information wasn't freely given. And so we decided that we would put together a booking.com style platform whereby people can go and search and book and find out what is available from in their area. Now, it's a bit crazy at the moment, isn't it? We're in completely uncertain and unprecedented times. We are an industry that is built upon people. We work with people, we want to help people. If we didn't, we wouldn't be in this industry. We all care and we all want to make a difference. The problem is we're unable to engage with individuals in the methods that we used to. It must be so difficult for our customers at the moment to not have that face-to-face engagement with us. And it must be difficult for us to not have that face-to-face engagement with them, because there is nothing more than I think that in these times where people are scared, that people are worried and they don't know what to do, where we can't actually physically be there for them. It is really scary out there. We don't know what's going on. We don't know what this virus does, who will get it, and it's almost like a potluck lottery. And so there is an air of fear about what's going on at the moment. And yet we still have to do something with our customers in these times. In fact, I was on a telephone call with one of our partners the other day over in the east of England, and they just received a letter from the DWP stating that they have to, in no uncertain terms, do something with their customers. This was a work and health program customer of ours, and they still need to do something. Our unemployment rate is the highest it's been since 1996. So the environment, again, is starting to look a little bit difficult. How are we going to be able to navigate it? Industries aren't recruiting, and the industries that are recruiting are key worker industries, which means that the customers that we were put into those jobs are willingly putting themselves at risk due to the environment that we're actually facing. So it's a little bit scary for everybody out there. And we're still having to navigate underspends in budget and still make sure that we're spending those budgets. So we thought to ourselves, just before COVID-19 started, just before lockdown happened, we sat down together and thought, what can we do with the wave that is coming towards us? How can we still offer skills for unemployment? How can our training providers spend their funding so they don't lose it for the next year? And how can we assist our partners in engaging with their customers? And this was a major concern, because we thought, how are we going to do this? We knew that nothing was going to stop when it came to the pre-employment industry. Nothing ever stops in the pre-employment industry. We have to keep calm and carry on. And so we thought, what is it that we're going to do? And so, you know, we had a couple of ideas, but we didn't know whether or not they would work. And so I just wanted to show you something interesting here. What we discovered, this is booking data from our website of people booking onto courses. And what we realized was that actually post-lockdown, we did not see a decrease in any engagement when it came to booking onto training courses. Now, there's a couple of reasons for this. When we thought that lockdown was going to happen, we started to speak to our training providers and say, look, what can we do to do this? Because classroom-based learning is no longer an option. And every training provider that engages with us is all about classroom-based learning. That is the traditional method. We used to fill in classrooms with 20 to 30 people going on to do a course that is going to get them employment at the end of it. But all of a sudden, that was no longer an option. We cannot do that. So we had to think a little bit outside the box and think a little bit differently. So we sat with our training providers and said, what is it that we can do? And we came up with two options, which are remote learning and online learning. Now, remote learning and online learning, there's the difference between them. Let's have a look at online learning. Now, JobSkiller is based within the tech sector. We are very much, we're very much a tech entrepreneur company. We were one of the first to be recognized by tech accelerator programs as we were doing this. And so we were like, right, the natural progression for us is online learning. However, online learning doesn't really support the clientele group that we would normally engage with whilst we were, previous to COVID-19 lockdown. Online learning requires individuals to be able to use devices. We used to produce a course called Digital Inclusion, which was to help people gain confidence in their skill set of using devices to engage with the outside world. But we could not do that remotely because that skill set needed one-on-one tuition to do it. So we kind of had a step back, and we looked upon our experiences as old advisors, as centre managers, as coming up with programs. And we thought, well, we used to do light touch support to a number of customers that were unable to come into the centres. So we could apply that way of thinking to the training courses and come up with a remote learning type of organisation, of support. And the response that we received was really overwhelming because it seemed to work better for the individual to have that remote learning happen and occur. The customer or the learner was getting more one-on-one support from their tutor, which really kind of empowered them in their way of thinking of training, because classroom-based training, as efficient and as useful as it is, has a connotation of going back to school for our learners. And instead of being schooled, our learners were now starting to be coached one-on-one, which made them feel more confident in their ability to complete the course, and then opened up their minds to further learning as they continued. It could be paper-based or it could be online, so it negated the need to have internet skills, to have IT skills that we knew that were lacking within our customer group. And it enabled people to learn from home in their own time. The courses went from being around 2 weeks long to being around 6 weeks long during lockdown. Now, this was done because the customer was getting one-on-one support from the tutor, which meant that the course and cohort was a bit longer. It also meant that for our training providers, they had much larger groups of individuals, because no longer were we looking at getting a classroom filled in one area of the country. It meant that anybody could log in from wherever they were and still complete the course. So it started to become a bit easier and a bit smoother. Now, don't get me wrong, there were teething problems when it came to it because it's a new way of working. We've started to create online enrollment forms so that it's easier for our training providers to engage with the learners. And we started to have a dedicated team that would engage with the learners within 24 hours of having their course booked, and then the training provider was able to take it from there. And as we started to work this way, we noticed something a little bit different, and it was to do with the way that people were engaging with the courses. So if we have just a quick look here, the graph on the left is looking at our sectors that people were booking onto pre-lockdown. So we've got from left to right: business admin, care, cleaning, construction, customer service, digital inclusion, employability, functional skills, health and safety, hospitality, IT, moving on, which is a dedicated JobSkiller course, NEAT courses, retail, safeguarding, security, teaming. Apologies for going through them, but I had to get them really small so you could kind of see them on there. And you can see that predominantly people were booking onto our digital inclusion product or a warehousing course. And as lockdown progressed, we started to see something different. We started to see that there was a greater spread amongst engagement training. Now, if we look at the sectors pre-lockdown, the sectors that were engaged with the most were construction, digital inclusion, security, and warehousing. Other than digital inclusion, each of those courses had either a guaranteed interview, had a vocational qualification on the end of it, like the CSCS card or an SIA, had something really useful to get somebody into work. But then when lockdown happened, we started to see a change. And it's not just the change in the behavior of people engaging with us on our website. We started to see it, nationwide. We started to see people's priorities change. We started to see the way that they thought, the way that they were thinking changing. So it wasn't anymore a kind of desperation to get into work. It was a thoughtful process of how can I actually better myself when I am, when I have this time on my hands, a little bit of respite, for instance. And so we still see that warehousing was one of our highest engaged with courses, but we started seeing that we're getting business admin started to increase, care, construction increased very quickly at the beginning. But then obviously recruitment in that industry started to slow down. So it kind of evened out in the first 2 weeks. But we also started to see an increase in work skills courses and in employment courses, just softer skills courses that didn't have any vocational add-on at the end. And this obviously is to do with the fact that people weren't recruiting. So people were actually able to better themselves and get themselves into a more advanced employment opportunity by increasing their soft skills, building their confidence, and then when the time was right and we were able to start applying for jobs and the industries would start recruiting, then vocational skills we predict will start to increase again. And it kind of leads us quite nicely onto this, because really the courses that we've seen an uptake in are the key worker areas. I don't know about you, but I constantly can't go 20 minutes on the radio without hearing an advert for care workers. And, it's a difficult situation really for our customers because working in care puts them at risk. But we have all of these other industries that are crying out for people, our retail, our logistics, hence why our warehousing courses are still increasing, and farming. But I heard a story the other day on the news about farming, whereby a farmer employed 100 individuals to help pick the fruit and veg, and by the end of the week, only 7 people were left, which is quite a scary statistic because we as a nation are more of a service-based nation. We're not used to that kind of physical work. So what is it we can do to try and help and increase with that? JobSkiller engages with employers on a regular basis. We are part of the O2 Telefonica group. We're owned in partly by that through their tech accelerator, Wira. And so as a result, we work very closely with those type of employers. And we have had an increase of engagement with them, not in the traditional sense where we're going to ask them for vacancies that we can advertise or that we can place people in there. But it's actually turned on a flip side. When organizations such as those are bidding for government work with local authorities, the local authorities are now adding employment targets for these commercial organizations, and it's quite heavily weighted in their bid. So as a result, JobSkiller has been involved in creating these kind of programs and helping these organizations see where their social responsibility lies with the employment market. And that is how it's all being targeted. It's being targeted as social responsibility for these organizations. And that kind of opens up a whole new level of employer engagement for our industry. Because traditionally, if we're honest, employer engagement is rather one-sided when it comes to the pre-employment industry. We want those vacancies. We want to put our people into those vacancies. So we are constantly going for the vacancy. But yet, as an industry, there is so much more that we can add and add value to those organizations, such as being involved in the bids that we're talking about. But we also have contracts that are enabled to help employers help spend their apprenticeship levy, help with the skill support for the workforce. All of these, if we work together and collaborate, create a really good offer for an employer that will perpetuate those vacancies that we want at the end. And we've had some very interesting discussions over the last couple of weeks with how we can start to engage with that. And there's a number of things that we've been looking at. So we've been looking at putting on bespoke programs. We've been looking at putting on more digital programs, because digital is a very, very, very big buzzword in their industry, in our industry at the moment, and with what the nation is trying to do and achieve. So what does that mean by going digital? Well, there was, I don't know if anybody saw it, there was an article by LinkedIn, which they do on a bi-weekly basis, where they survey a number of people and they ask about confidence in their industry. And, you know, there's a lot obviously happening around recruitment at the moment, and there's a lot of pessimism going about, surrounding that kind of area. But it's very much apparent that what COVID-19 has taught us is that people are wanting to better themselves. Now, we are an industry of bettering people, and yet to some of the outside world, they don't know that our industry exists. In fact, I remember at a pitch event about a year ago, there was a large employer that I was speaking to, and I introduced what JobSkiller does and, you know, the industry that we work in. And he literally said, "I've never heard of it. I've never heard of what you guys do. I've never heard of, the industry that you're part of." And so we explained to him that without our industry, his business wouldn't succeed, and it wouldn't be exist, because the staff that are unemployed come from us and go into him. And it's getting this kind of link now between these large organizations and these large influential organizations and the pre-employment industry that's starting to really kind of make waves and connections. And one of these things is that, you know, everybody is wanting to better themselves. In fact, if you have a look at that little graph there, you know, the vast majority of things in the middle are people want to either gain knowledge or improve their own emotional well-being, contribute to society and help others is quite high up there, really, in the mid. And it's starting to see that kind of change. And so again, we kind of looked at that and looked at the industries that we've had in, you know, really successful engagement with during in the COVID-19 lockdown. And there's a correlation between them, because people are wanting to better themselves for the future, not necessarily for the immediate, which is, you know, something that we would normally look at. And so as a result of this, we are launching next month a new exciting project called the JobSkiller Academy, which is a completely online training portal, which individuals can go on and select a number of courses that they'd like to do from over 3,000 different ones, which range from soft skill courses, maybe like cake decorating. I think we've seen a lot of that on our Facebook feeds recent, everybody baking banana bread, and things like learning languages and, you know, professional qualifications like Microsoft and everything in between. And so we felt that this gap was needed and to be secure, because there has to be something that those UK professionals that are currently in work, that are those decision makers, can see relevance to within our industry. And that's it, really. We're all in this together. This is how we navigate it. We do this by working together. This has been a theme that I've noticed in webinars from the IEP, from the IEP Summit, which, if you didn't manage to go to, was absolutely fantastic. And we are really looking at being all in this together, by being responsive, by being adaptable, and free thinking, and all of supportive for the coming months. But let's think different. And yeah, that's let's make this happen. Let's support our customers. If there's anything that we can do for you, my contact details are here. You can get them from Scott and the IP. And I just want to say a massive thank you again to the IP for allowing us to do this. Thank you for everybody attending today as well. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to come off the presentation. I'm going to pass it over to Helen, who's been collating some questions. And then we'll do a little bit of question and answer, and then we can, and then that's it for us today. Thank you ever so much for listening. Okay, let's see. Technical, are we back? Bear with me.
Hello, can you hear me? Oh,
Yeah,
hello. Yes, fantastic. We haven't got lots of questions, but we have had inquiries as to your contact details, because people have all commented on how fantastic and how interesting they've found this session. And I believe they want to sort of follow it up with you to find out how JobSkilla can support them in their different roles. So, yes.
Oh, brilliant. Well, shall I put my contact details in the chat? Would that be?
Yep, Scott has for you, and it's also worth saying that you can find JobSkilla details via the IEP website as well, because all of our corporate affiliate partner organisations are there. But what we did, we popped your email on, so it might be worth popping your mobile number in the chat, and then people can just cut and paste from there and get in contact with you. That's been really useful. Thank you.
Brilliant.
And there were lots of comments about the graphs being useful and people enjoying looking at that. So I dare say you'll get some requests for some of that information. Oh, we've got one come in. So I usually work with young people 16 to 18. Does JobSkilla have courses that these young people can attend?
Yes. Whereabouts are you in Dorset, did it say?
Let me just see. I can't see. Andrea F, if you can tell us where you're based. Oh, she's in Northamptonshire.
Northamptonshire. I'll have to go and double check for that. Now, obviously, one of the challenges that we have at JobSkilla is because we work all across England, different funding rules apply for different areas. We may not have a service that we can provide in Manchester that we can down in Dorset, just because of funding and how it works at the moment. I know it's quite disappointing when that happens, but we can always go and try and seek it out for you. JobSkilla has onboarded around 15 new training providers during lockdown. Just because of this new way of remote working, it seems to be really useful for training providers. So by all means, get in touch, and I'll pass you I'll either deal with it myself, or I'll pass you on to the relevant account manager in that area.
Excellent, thank you. So they're coming in thick and fast now. So are your courses accessible for clients who are on probation?
Yes, they are. Yeah, we cater for everybody from probation through to NEET funding. And everything in between.
Excellent. A lot of my clients are in need of CSCS, traffic marshalling, PTS training. I am working across North London, East London and North West London. Is there anything in those streams?
Yes,
there?
There is. Yeah,
yep.
we can supply most of that. However, we need to go into the details, privately, and see what we can do. But there is always something we can do.
Fantastic. So is JobSkilla England only? Is the next question.
It is currently. Funnily enough, yesterday I had a conversation with somebody that wanted us to branch out into Wales. At the moment, England is where we operate. Scotland seem to have a very good handle on things, really, and we'd love to be part of Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland, and really get a UK-wide service. It is something that we're looking at. The JobSkilla Academy can go across all boards, but the JobSkilla service that we took all that data for predominantly operates in England. However, if you are a skills provider and you operate in Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland, we'd love to have some conversations with you and see how many people we can help in those areas as well.
Okay, so the next question we had was along that line around, are courses dependent on where you live? I'm from South Wales. Are the courses accredited?
Yes, all courses are accredited. They're all ESFA funded, other than in the Job Skiller Academy. So to be ESFA funded, they have to be accredited. They help if you are an organisation that needs to get outcomes at the moment as well. They help with your training outcomes if they are accepted by your contract. So we do that across England at the moment.
Okay, fantastic. They're putting you through the paces now. I'm impressed at how quickly you're responding to these. The next one is, do JobSkiller have any courses in the Liverpool area for 16s to 19s?
For 16s to 19s, not currently. It's mainly 19 plus in Merseyside. Obviously, the Liverpool City region's a devolved area, so it's, you know, we have limited courses in that area on dependent upon who's got the devolved funding. The same goes for any devolved area, but we do have a variety of vocational courses that we could help you with. We have dedicated account managers that across the country that take care of these regions. They're the experts in those regions, and I'd be more than happy to connect you with them, and you can continue those conversations and see what it is that they can help you with.
Fantastic, thank you. So the next question is, with CSCS courses, how are you managing to put learners through the 2 tests required to get the CSCS card?
So when we went into lockdown, this was one of the challenges that we faced. At the moment, obviously, currently you can't go to the centres. So CSCS cards they're either waiting to be completed post-lockdown when we can enter the centres, or we have been exploring with the training providers a way of doing it digitally through the CITB. So we just haven't quite worked out how that would work at the moment. As you can imagine, there's a lot of things that we've had to change in the past 6 weeks. So I can't really guarantee anything on that at the moment, but please, we are having the discussion around.
Okay,
yeah,
brilliant. Fantastic, thank you. So another question, what do course costs range between, and which parts do you need to pay for?
Okay, so anything that is for the unemployment offer is fully funded for unemployed customers, depending on their eligibility. So there is no cost to the organisations. The only costs that can be incurred through JobSkiller are for the JobSkiller Academy, whereby you can buy credits in the academy to offer those courses to your customers. The pricing of which we are still working on at the moment with a number of the suppliers of the courses. So if you are interested in that, please get in touch, and I'd love to have a conversation in the next week or so with you about it.
Great, thank you. So can we, as advisors, sign up to give us notifications when new courses come online?
Yes, you can. Currently, at the moment, we're doing it through email, and shout out the email with email shots. We're more than happy to engage with you on that. We'd love to show you what courses are available to you and your customers. So please get in touch, and I can get the account managers to get in touch with you, and they can have a discussion with you about how to continue that engagement.
Okay, great, thank you. So another one is employer engagement attached to the PTS course or any other course?
Not currently. We're not currently set up for our own employer engagement team. The way that we do it at the moment is either our training providers engage with the employers and guarantee interviews at the end of it, or it's done through the way I explained earlier, whereby corporate organisations come to us for the assistance.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Is this available for West Yorkshire?
Yes, it is.
Excellent. Good. Brilliant. A lot of our clients are waiting for online IT course. Will one be running in South London area?
I'd have to have a check with you on that one. Like I said, the funding's obviously different in London, being the devolved area, but it's something that we can have a look at for you. And if you'd like one, we can request it as well. If you do have a cohort ready to go, then it's pretty simple for our training providers to get that sorted. Online IT is a bit difficult at the moment. It depends on whether or not the individuals have got access to the internet and access to a device that they can work on. We are predicting post-lockdown that our digital inclusion product will be available as soon as we are given the safe go-ahead, whereby we can have classroom-based learning again, and that's usually how we do the online. The IT. It's quite difficult to get users that are not used to IT courses doing it online for straight away. As you can imagine, some customers that we engage with on our digital inclusion courses have never switched on a laptop or a tablet before, so you can't really engage with that remotely, unfortunately. But we are always adding courses to the website, so please go online, have a look. There's a tab on there where you can just hit online and remote learning, and it will bring up all the courses that are available there. We are working on a new section to make it easier for everybody just to kind of put in where they are, so there's no confusion surrounding the funding rules for the courses as well. So watch this space, that will be up soon.
Okay, excellent, thank you. So are the costs for students who are not classed as unemployed but need to get employment ready?
We haven't explored that model really, because of the way that our training providers are set up as ESFA funded. There are things that we can do. So if we are looking at creating content ourselves for just general employability. We've been asked by a number of different organisations to create something that's engaging content wise, which we're looking at developing and putting on the academy. There are employment courses on the JobSkiller Academy which they can access and pay for. They're not expensive either. We are very much under the impression of we want affordable education for the masses, and that's these are the type of courses that we're looking at really pushing out, ranging from 15 to £150 in between there. So there should be a lot that they could access, and that will be available mid-June.
Okay, so the next question is, oh, and it scrolled off my screen, there's so many. Will the paid courses on the academy be able to be funded by completing funding training through JobSkiller, and how do I request a course for my learners?
Yes, they will be. So this is one thing that we're negotiating with the training providers, as is JobSkiller. When it started, wanted to make sure that we removed a barrier post-learning. Now, we can't remove those barriers post-learning at the moment because they were always in an industry qualification, so an SIA license or an FLT license or something similar. And so the JobSkiller Academy really wants to fill that void, whereby they'll get an extra course or credits in the academy post learning. But again, that's we're just working out the teething problems with this at the moment. We wanted to make sure that everything was clear and ready to go before we launched anything cemented with that.
Okay, and last couple of questions. With a lot of apprenticeships now being deferred to start in January, February next year rather than September, does JobSkiller have any plans to offer courses for those who will be moving into the apprenticeships at a later stage?
Before lockdown, we started to look at apprenticeships and seeing what we could do to help with apprenticeships. Unfortunately, we put that on a little bit of a back burner at the moment because of the response to COVID-19, and we felt that the digital engagement was going to be the way that we could actually respond to it. And so the academy will be the bit that will kind of bridge that gap. Now, obviously, if that individual still, if they're unemployed, they're still eligible for the funding to get them onto an employability course. So we can still, offer that once, lockdown has eased, or they can engage with one of the remote or online courses currently at the moment, so long as they are eligible for the funding.
Okay, we'll make this the last question, although I've got the feeling the group could go on all day because they found this so useful. Are you the main point of contact for alerts and new courses available, or is there someone else you would like people to contact?
There are account managers that take care of each section of England at the moment, and they would be the point of contact for the depending upon when you are in the area. For this initial instance, please contact me, and then I will introduce you to those individuals, and they'll be more than happy to take your inquiries.
Excellent. Thank you so much, and thank you for that brilliant Q&A at the end. You were certainly put through your paces, and you didn't pause. It was like you were on just a minute. No pausing or deviation or hesitation at all. Well done.
Just a minute. Well, thank you so much. Thank you very much for having me. So, shall we leave it there, Helen? Oh, you've been muted again. Hold on, I'll unmute you again. Well, I think that just leaves me to say thank you ever so much for everybody attending. Please stay safe, look after each other, and we will hopefully I'll speak to many of you soon. Thank you again, and take care, and we'll speak soon.
Excellent.